Welcome to another episode of our channel. In this video, we'll discuss a statement made by a senior official from Vladimir Putin's regime, who said that nothing prevents Russia from sending the Oreshnik, a ballistic missile capable of reaching Washington and New York, to Venezuela. On Tuesday, November 4th, Alexei Zurovlyov, a member of the State Duma's Defense Committee, gave an interview to the Russian newspaper Gazeta, stating that there are no obstacles for Russia to supply Venezuela with the Oreshnik ballistic missile or Caliber cruise missiles. This is seen as a response to what many perceive as an imminent threat of U.S. intervention in Venezuela, especially given the significant buildup of American forces in the Caribbean. According to the Russian official, it is also a response to the sale of American weapons to aid Ukraine's defense against the Russian invasion. Zurovlyov, who is a regular on shows of Russia's top propagandists, highlighted that Russia is already a key partner in military tech for Caracas, supplying everything from light arms to aviation. He even teased that Americans might be surprised by the classified details of deliveries already made to Venezuela. It's a bold statement, clearly coming at a time of high tension between Moscow and Washington. After Trump canceled the meeting with Putin in Budapest, and with the regime of dictator Nicolás Maduro seeking help from allies like Russia, China, and Iran to shield from possible U.S. action. But why did the interview with one of Putin's regime's main officials draw so much attention? The reason lies in the Oreshnik missile, one of the crown jewels of modern Russian arsenal. Oreshnik, meaning nut in Russian, is an intermediate-range ballistic missile, known by the English acronym IRBM. It's heavily based on the RS-26 Rubash, an older system now adapted for new hypersonic capabilities. It's a mobile missile launched from a heavy truck, making it hard to detect and destroy before launch. Moreover, its engine uses solid fuel, allowing rapid launches in minutes, not hours, like rockets with liquid fuel engines. The range is impressive, potentially up to 5,500 kilometers, depending on the configuration. This means that, launched from Venezuela, it could hit cities like Washington or New York effortlessly, covering significant parts of the American continent. Its speed is hypersonic, reaching Mach 11, or about 12,000 kilometers per hour, making interception very difficult. And to further complicate defensive systems, it's the MIRV type, standing for Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicles, which means it can carry up to 6 warheads, ejected during atmospheric re-entry, multiplying targets by 6 for the defenses. The Oreshnik was first used against Ukraine in November 2024, attacking a factory in Dnipro, proving its effectiveness in real combat. Even using non-explosive warheads, the kinetic impact force alone caused massive destruction. But now, a big and important question: can Russia really supply the Oreshnik to Venezuela? Or is it just propaganda rhetoric? The Oreshnik only began serial production now, in 2025, with Vladimir Putin announcing it in early November this year. From available information initially, the quantities produced were limited, but now it's allegedly in serial production, with Russia even announcing plans to supply it to Belarus, ruled by dictator Lukashenko. Thus, technically yes, Russia can supply it to Venezuela, as no international treaties prevent this. And since it is a relatively discreet missile, it could be transported by cargo planes without raising major suspicions. But in financial and logistical terms, it would be, to say the least, very challenging for the Kremlin. Russia is bogged down in Ukraine, with stretched resources. Sending advanced missiles to Latin America would require a complex and costly operation. Therefore, with Putin needing all the weapons at home that his defense industry can produce, it's probably more rhetoric, however. If it happens, even in limited numbers, it would radically change the scenario and context in the Caribbean. This leads us to an inevitable comparison. Are we facing a new version of the 1962 missile crisis, but with Venezuela playing Cuba's role? In 1962, The Soviet Union deployed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 150 kilometers from Florida, bringing the world to the brink of nuclear war. Kennedy imposed a naval blockade, and Khrushchev backed down after secret negotiations involving the withdrawal of American missiles from Turkey. Now, Russian missiles in Venezuela, 2,000 kilometers from the United States, could pose a similar threat to the continent. But we cannot ignore the differences, the main one being the tremendous industrial and logistical limitations Russia faces today in war. Compared to the gigantic and much more relaxed industrial capacities of the Soviet Union in the early 60s, Maduro is obviously desperate for support, as he feels alone against overwhelming American military power. And Putin seems interested in using this to play psychological games aimed at pressuring Washington. But what could be the reactions of the United States if Russia manages to send even a few Oreshnik units to the Caribbean? If Russia proceeds with this, the response from the United States will evidently be very harsh, as Trump cannot risk Russian missiles launched by a Latin American dictator falling on Washington and New York. If there is suspicion that such a weapon was delivered to Maduro, Trump will have the justification to proceed forcefully against Venezuela, citing the defense against a weapon potentially capable of causing massive devastation in metropolises like Washington and New York. The first step would be a complete naval and aerial blockade of Venezuela to prevent further Russian missile arrivals. The second step would probably involve a vigorous attack to oust Maduro, justified as protecting the United States from a real threat. However, as I've mentioned earlier, with Russia needing all the weapons they can produce at home, considering the Oreshnik is a very expensive and slowly manufactured weapon, and above all, because Putin knows Trump could use it to justify sending even more weapons to Ukraine, like Tomahawk missiles. It's very likely just propaganda rhetoric by a Putin regime official wanting to attract media attention. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe now and click the notification bell so you don't miss any updates.